Hi, Jessica.
Hi.
Hi. So are you, I just came in under the info. Should I not do that?
Well, it starts the meeting. So if you want to be the host of it.
No, I don't. Because I'm only standing in until Melissa gets here. So should I go out and come in under my own name so I don't mess it up later?
What time? When is Melissa coming in?
I don't know. As soon as she can.
Okay, because like I have to make her a host to be able to leave.
Okay, so should I come out now? It's probably better, right?
Yeah, I'll just have to stay on until she joins.
Oh, is it better? How
Do you know
I
how to make
her a-
someone else host?
No, but if you show me, I can do it.
Okay, so if you hover over my camera, do you see, like once your mouse is over my picture, in the top right, do you see mute and then 3 dots?
You're the whole screen, so where should I be looking?
Oh, I see. Okay. In the very top right, do you have a button that says view?
On my picture, yes.
So click that and click gallery. And that should put us side by side. You muted yourself.
I pushed the wrong button.
You probably have it set to speaker view. So if you click view, it should open up and you can choose speaker or gallery.
It says full screen. Oh, I see. Gallery.
So you click gallery.
Well, now I have both of us.
Yeah. So now like whenever people join, you'll have everyone the same size on one screen instead of having like the speaker being really big and then a line of people. So now if you hover over my camera or my picture, do you see the 3 dots in the top right?
Yep.
Blue. So click that.
Yep.
And so if right now it's not going to give you any
So
option,
it says make host. So if I went over Melissa later, I would just make her a host.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Good.
If you have any issues, just text me and I can pop on and make her the host at that time.
Perfect. You're at the office?
Yeah.
Do you know if couriers are still working if I get you to send a package to someone?
Probably just not as fast.
Okay, so I'll just text you the address and you can just send it out for me, if possible.
Is it here?
I'll have to find it because I didn't think you guys were in, so I told them I'd wait until I got in there.
Okay. Sometimes they show up like within 10 minutes, so I won't order it till it's here.
Perfect. Yeah. Sounds good. So have there been a lot of people on this?
I'm not sure. I know it's all of
It's here.
the other provinces as well. I usually just join until the instructor joins and make them a host and leave.
What do? Do you put the PowerPoint on?
No, the instructor does that.
Oh.
I don't do anything besides start the meeting.
Okay. So she'll have to do that too. So I just share my screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It should be fun.
Do you want me to stay on for a few minutes?
Sure.
Okay.
That would be a good thing. I have to do it in two weeks anyway, so I may as well learn today. I have it open on my computer, so it's all I have to do is go in and share, right?
Yep.
Perfect. Hi, Sheena. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, Larly?
I'm good. I'm good. Are you enjoying it so far?
Yeah. I have to admit my attendance hasn't been great during the Ignite. And
that's okay. Guess what? There's another one starting next week for regional.
Oh.
And it's going to be the new one. So it wouldn't hurt to register and just pop in whenever you feel like just popping in type thing. Okay. And then you can get the recordings of it as well. So that works well. So
I've been watching the recordings, especially I've watched all of Brenda Kay's. She's been fantastic.
She is. She's excellent. I think she's actually going to be some of the regional mastermind courses.
Oh, so, I would love to take some of her mastermind courses. That would be great.
Yeah, she's excellent. So, hi, everybody. It's pretty cool. I know everybody. We haven't got anyone from New Brunswick yet, I don't think. Hi, Jen.
Hey, Lorley. Happy beautiful day.
It is. It is. It's too bad we're working. And I'm going to be sitting here all day long.
Are you doing Ignite today, Lorley?
Only to get it started because Melissa's doing it and she's going to be a little late. She's doing a closing inspection.
Oh, good, good.
Well, that's nice. It's like a cameo for
Yeah,
you.
you sort of get, plus it's my practice time for, I think I do the last one. So by that point, everyone just wants to talk anyway, so it's easy. It's just a recap of everything. It makes it super easy. So I think you get Melissa once more before the end, and then you get Chad, and then you get me, I think. So he's always thrilled when he has to do it. He always wants to do it, and then the day it comes, it's like, ooh, I have to do that today. So it's a little bit different. So how's everybody doing? Especially with all our new lockdowns, you get to train more.
Yeah, I'm going to take advantage of the training and all that and getting familiar. And, you know, it's everything happens for a reason. And we're very fortunate to be healthy and that we live in a world where everyone's trying to stay safe. I just hope they keep the planes off the ground. People traveling and stuff. We're all here because of that. Not to get onto something, but I'm a little frustrated with it like everybody else. You know, not being able to go out and actually see people do their work in real estate, but very minor in comparison to what other people are experiencing. So happy to be where I am and have my license and be able to learn in the time that's allotted to us.
And you
Really.
will be able to do some stuff because people can't travel now. We're going to be doing a lot by virtual. If you have any clients that have any type of autoimmune deficiency or anything, you're going to see them pull way back. So, you know, you could actually go and help your mentors do videos of the house for clients and things like that, because we will be moving back into that a little bit more again. We really did open up quite a bit after we were completely shut down. So we have done this, and I can tell you people sold many, many homes during it. But it's very different, but this could give you the opportunity to actually see some vacant homes because you could go out by yourself and stuff like that. And if your mentor is going in and videotaping for someone that isn't going out to look at houses in person, it's a great time for you to go because you can turn it off too. And you could go around the house with them and really see what the house is all about and learn different things of different houses.
Yeah, I know that my mentor was kind of a little bit nervous because a lot of clients aren't wanting anyone else in their homes. But the fact that the video, like looking at different ways to learn, so she could send that video to me and I could watch her do the walkthrough.
Exactly.
You
Yeah,
know,
so there's a little bit of everything. Or
So, yeah.
your mentor may not be able to do things like this, that you may be able to do the walkthrough and learn how to do it. Because we do have some agents that have problems with their autoimmune systems. And like, I should go actually through my list and see if it's any of our mentors, but yeah, and people this round, it's worse. I know for our house, it's very different. We're all being tested because my daughter is the vice principal of the worst school in HRM. And they have a unbelievable amount of cases. My daughter is one of 2 in the school that are not isolating right now. Because she actually was on training for the 2 days that they were infected. But I am very impressed with our health system, because if you ever seen how they do contact tracing, because she's had to do it for numerous people and she's been on the phone often until midnight. Like, she got texts one night at 11 o'clock saying we have another positive, and they went through all the contact tracing and she was on the phone until about 2 in the morning. So they're good. Like, you don't see this in other provinces at all. It is impressive to watch when you see that side.
My daughter works at Kent in Dartmouth Crossing, and they have 2 employees that have now tested positive, and they haven't shut the store. So the last round that we had this going on, anytime there was an employee of a business, they immediately shut the business until everybody got tested and they had the results back, and they did a thorough cleaning. And Kent isn't doing that, and it's it's causing a lot of anxiety in my daughter and by extension with us.
Yeah. Yeah, you
So-
realize it, like my daughter's 30, right? But you know, it's still your daughter. And it's kind of like, okay, like if she's getting tests now every 5 days. So just in case, you know, someone came in the school or did something, and like she phoned this morning and said, I'm negative. It's like, thank you. Just call your mother as soon as you get that result. And Chad's was with her, so he's testing every so often too, just to make sure. So you don't want to mess this up. And it has started very, we realized that one of my son's computer was sort of iffy, like it sometime worked, sometime didn't. But he starts online learning tomorrow. So we were at the Apple store buying him a new computer when all of this shut down again. And I was shocked. All of the stores, by the time everything was open when we got to Apple. And then when we left, I'd say 80% of the stores had already closed down. So they don't, I wouldn't think even the mall is going to be open for anything. So, and that's what they said, get everything you need today, because we're probably going to be shut down tomorrow, because when the malls close, Apple's closed. So, okay, so I'm going to try to share my screen. So bear with me here. And Jessica's probably here for a good reason. Of course, it wouldn't be there. I did open it, guys, just a second. Okay, so can everyone see this? Yeah, we're good. Okay. Just screech out if I'm going too fast or if I'm going too slow. And please, this one unit is really about talking about what you're doing, and getting into the routines of everything that you're doing. So has everyone here shown houses so far?
No,
No, no one's gone through to show a house yet?
Yeah,
I haven't.
I've shown a lot.
How's that going?
Oh, good. Yeah.
Good? You're
It's like the
finding a
only
lot of
thing I'm,
things
like,
that you have
super
no idea.
comfortable with at this point.
Sorry?
I said it's pretty much like the only thing I'm like pretty comfortable with at this point.
Oh, good. Well, no, that's one of the things that's hardest to get used to. And do not be surprised when you go into a house that all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, what is that? Because you will do that until you're in the business for 30 years, because you have people that do things that, that's an odd way to do that. Or heating systems are infamous for this, because you may have someone that's from Europe somewhere and they've got something that they really were used to in Europe. So they've put it into their house here, but you've never seen it before. And that's a norm. So when you're showing properties, if a person, and for yourself, like if you look at something and you say, I'm not 100% sure what exactly that is. However, I'll ask, someone and get all the information for that for you. And that's a whole lot better than trying to make things up. And I've heard agents, like I've walked around with a couple of agents and they're telling me something, or they're telling their client, because there is the odd time that your sellers will want you to be in the house with them. And unfortunately, if that happens, you get to hear what the other agents are saying. And honestly, I've heard quite a few that sort of make up something when they're not sure what it is. That will come back to haunt you, because as soon as they find out after they moved into the house, it wasn't what you said, they're probably coming after you. And you will increase your credibility with your buyers if you say, I don't really know what that is. So don't think that right now you may have a little bit more that you have to ask questions about, but you will always be asking questions, because things change so drastically, especially for new construction. So you may see something one week and then it'll be in a house for maybe 3 or 4 years. Then they find out it really doesn't work all that well. And to explain something like that, when we were selling homes that had Kitech plumbing, It was like, our builders are using the best plumbing there is. Check out this new high-tech plumbing. So just imagine what that's like right now when you go in and your head hits the ground going, oh God, it's got high-tech plumbing in it. So things change so quickly that you'll never be totally in the know for everything that there is. And the biggest thing is just to say to yourself, wow, I have no idea what that is. I'm going to find out for you, basically. The other thing is when I first started and when you're showing homes, number one, try to get your client to really verbalize what they are looking for and then keep them on track. So as we go down here, how are you guys doing with all your homework and things like that?
Not very good.
Not very good. Okay. No, it's very honest. And most people are probably the exact same. Some people are being quieter about it. It's not something that is going to be, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do 10 calls. I'm going to do 10 notes. I'm going to do 10 of this. And it's going to happen every day as soon as you get started. The thing that you're going to try to do is always go back to do it again. So you may, and I'm going to go down to the next slide with it. You may, for a full week, do really well, and then you fall off the wagon. Do not worry about that. Everybody falls off the wagon. The biggest thing is you keep walking towards the wagon, you get back on. Okay. And it is hard.
Will the missions be updated? Because I started on the missions and then I got to the E-Edge and I was trying to figure out what E-Edge was. And, and then I was like, to find out that E-Edge doesn't exist. And I think that's where I stopped.
E-Edge is command. So E-Edge has turned into command. And this is where I'm saying this new one that's starting next week is actually the new course, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so pop into those, especially if you missed one of these. So it does pull in a little bit more with social media. It also pulls in more with command. So it's actually talking to the systems more. This used to be a lot less exact to what you're going to be using, but now that they have their own systems, because like even E-Edge was owned by somebody else that we just bought for our agents. And as E-Edge was actually the first real push for KW to create command. And the reason for that is E-Edge was a system that worked a little bit like command, not even close to the same caliber. But you had your database, you had some marketing in it, you had a few campaigns that you had to build yourself. And then they basically went to Gary Keller and said, we're going to increase your agent's price for this by $5 each agent. So you can just imagine his day and how it got ruined when he thought, I have 150,000 agents and I just have this new bill. Then he realized, I have no control over this because if I don't pay it, my agents no longer have any of their database. They no longer have their systems that they use. So he had no choice but to pay it. That day, he said, never again will that happen, that someone has control over my agents. And that's when they started creating command. So all of the systems at that point were created by Keller Williams for Keller Williams agents. And that's why we always are able to tell you we own the data, which is massive. When we seen Dotloop, is anyone here using Dotloop? Please say no. Who had their hand up and said yes? Mike, you got to get off Dotloop. Okay, so basically what we found out about Dotloop and the reason we changed was they would not sign a document that said that we owned our data or our agents owned their data. We really he ended up doing a full investigation on it only to find out that Dotloop is owned by Trilio, which is a real estate company. So Mike, this afternoon, I'm going to pick you up and you're going to bring all of your clients' names and addresses and everything. And I'm going to drop it off at RE/MAX for you. Are you going to try DocuSign now? So try to get into it. That's it. And it works so well with the rest of our systems. Has one of the things that you can do too is practice. Go into DocuSign and send something to your husband, your wife, your friend, and see how it works and get used to using it. It's super easy once you get it up and running and you get used to it. You will never want to do it any other way but to do everything by DocuSign. Okay. Contacts. So is everybody starting to put their contacts into Command? Okay, I'm seeing a lot of thumbs up with this one. Great. Is anyone having trouble with it? Yes, no? You sound pretty good on it. Good, good. So that is the base. So you can run your whole business just by getting really good at getting your contacts in. If you're having trouble with anything like this, what should you do?
Talk to Aaron,
Yes.
YouTube
Sounds good.
videos.
Yeah. So go on to Weebly, check out Gilles' videos because he explains things very, very, very carefully. And he goes slow through it. So it's really good. And if you're having trouble, do not get frustrated. Just call in to see who's at the office. Either Aaron or Jessica is really good at it now. So just talk to them and find out, exactly what that little thing is you're missing instead of getting frustrated and just closing it down. So get the help when it's happening, not a week later after you're frustrated with it and you haven't put any contacts in for a week. Okay. Note cards. Who does note cards?
Jen and I wrote our first one for your husband.
It was very nice and he loved it.
Oh,
So the one thing, and if you really think about this, is when you go to your mailbox, when do you get anything that's happy? Very little comes through to your mailbox now that isn't some sort of ad for something or a magazine that you have no idea why you're getting it, but you've been getting it for 12 years, or bills. Other than that, you get very little in your mailbox that is nice or happy or is going to say, wow, that's really sweet. It's $1. Get used to writing little note cards. Your clients are going to love it. Only because it is something that's super positive and it's something that you took time and they know you took time to do it. So when you see all of the other stuff coming in to contact your people, one of the ones that is different from the rest is the note cards, because the note cards are something that is personalized to them and you can write anything in it. Like we used to, you can get scripts, go on to Google and say note card ideas, and it'll give you all kinds of different ideas. What note cards do is it really takes you away from the rest of the crowd because very few agents are actually doing it. But when you get it, it's personal and it's personalized and people love them. We started with sending out birthday cards. And we have clients that have actually said, I miss getting my birthday card. And it is, you think about it after, yeah, well, the email probably doesn't do the exact same thing as that birthday card did. And they really do miss it. So when you're not sure what to do, just go through your list, go on to Facebook, see things that is happening with your clients. It's the best way. You may, write, hey, I'm, haven't seen you in a while. I just wanted to reach out and say hi. And congratulations. I just seen Johnny graduated from high school. I can't believe he's already at that stage. So they remember you. After you write the note card, what should you do?
Follow up with a phone call.
Yep. Something else too?
log it in your database.
Log it. And then you know for sure you've been touching these people. Okay, and I would put a little note of what you said in the card so you don't say the exact same thing the next time. You will have days that you sit down in front of your desk and you're not sure how to contact people that day. You just don't have anything to say to them. Take your contact sheet, get in your car, drive around. When you have listings that have already sold, you may have driven past a house when you're showing another house and you sold that house 5 years ago. Have a look at it. When you get home, text out and say, hey, I can't believe that little tree in the front of your yard now is as big as it is. I just passed your house. Guaranteed the next thing they say is, the next time you're in the area, stop in and let's have a chat. Or I was thinking about trying to get someone to figure out how much I can get for my house now. And it's those days that when you just pop into their lives, you are actually popping in at a time that you may find is the best time for you to do it. And you will be able to start those conversations much, much easier than just phoning and saying, hey, just making sure you're okay. This is a really easy time to make phone calls. Super easy, because you don't have to say anything except, I was just thinking about you and I was wondering how you're doing during COVID. How's your family doing? How are the kids making out? Are they back to online learning? Stuff like that. So you actually have the opportunity, plus it's called a care call. So you're showing them that you care. So there's 3 things that you're doing for your clients all the time is you are making sure they remember you. So they know you, they like you, and they trust you. So if you are making care calls, how much have you pushed they're going to like me because I do care? Make them genuine and phone. Like you may see something on Facebook that someone is ill. Make a call and just say, oh, I was thinking about you. I just seen that your mom's not doing well. I hope everything's okay. If you need anything at all, just reach out. So it's super easy. And those care calls are the easiest, because if they don't answer your phone, it's really nice to get a message like that. So even if you don't end up talking to them, you can leave a care message, and the care message will go a long, long, long way. Okay. Not sure what Ignite Home Base is, so let's go to the next star. This is what happens when you only teach the last course. So how close are you guys getting to the 10 new contacts, speaking to 10 people, writing 10 notes, and previewing 10 homes? Obviously, the previewing 10 homes is a no-go right now, mostly because I don't think you could find 10 listings. But it is really good to go through new construction houses if you have the opportunity. Even with those, there's less there are less model homes right now, but whenever you can, try to do it. The writing 10 notes, this can be done, and that's what you're going to see with all of the other stuff that you're going to get with the new Ignite. So when it says writing 10 notes, what else can you do?
Well, text messages are great. Facebook, notes, messenger, things that just put you on one-on-one contact with folks.
Exactly. So command, even sending out, putting someone on a smart plan. Has everyone gone into their smart plans and just looked through all the different ones that are already set up for you? Okay, so when you go into command, go into smart plans and then go into library. And there's probably 1,000 different smart plans there. Okay, this is where we get to, don't recreate a wheel. Don't write out a 10-week smart plan. Go in and steal someone else's and change it to fit your personality, or change it to fit, that specific group that you're trying to target. But they're all there. They're all pre-made. Same with designs. I know how many times, and if you can ask Chad, how many arguments we've had about how long I waste time doing flyers and making everything pretty and making everything look fantastic. guys, you have command. Go in. These are all done by like the top marketing people at the office, and they're beautiful. So if you go into your designs and see, like I just went in yesterday to look at one of the buyer's packages, and it's gorgeous. And you press submit and your face shows up. You can go in and change something that you want or put your own bio in, but it's all done that you can do it in like 5 minutes. Where honestly, I have worked on buyer's packages at times 2 and 3 months. So it's kind of like, Laura, go sell a house instead of working on this stuff. Like, go do it. But that is one of the issues. Wasting time on stuff that really doesn't matter. When you have something that you can just do very quickly, or something that is where I say good enough. If you are a perfectionist, make sure that you move out and do what we're asking you to do. Don't get to the point where you have the perfect notes. Don't wait until you think you have your script perfect to talk to 10 people. Pick up the phone and just do it. You're going to learn by mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes, but you have done it. You might have got 9 people that are very happy with their phone call. You might have messed up 1. You still have 9 more done than the one you messed up. So I know on this call, I've got a few that are perfectionists, and you can put your hands up if you know you're the perfectionist. So it's going from organizing and putting things together to doing it. Just move and do it. So, and then you can create over the time you're in the business, get it to what exactly works for you. Some things are not going to work for you. We're going to tell you to try different things. Does anyone know how many lead generation systems there are, or ways to lead gen? Nope. Would you be shocked if I said I can send you out and do 19 different things today?
Not shocked at all.
No. So there's 19 different ways to lead generate. Do you know what you have to do? You have to get really good at 3, and you have to like doing it. Why?
Can you send them out?
Sorry?
Could you send them out? Or are
Can
they
I send
anywhere
out
that we can
19
grab?
different ways to lead gen? I'll
Like,
look
is
for
there
it.
like a list?
Sorry?
Can you send out a list, or is there a list somewhere? Is there a
I'll
shared
look for a
list?
list. I'm sure there is one. Yes, that would have been Dick Dillingham, right, Melissa? Melissa's here now. So we were just talking about getting really good at 3 lead generation systems and enjoying doing it, because I know I had a coach that was a door knocking coach, and I loved her, but I couldn't knock on a door to save my life. Like literally, I came home and said, I'm done. If I have to do this to sell real estate, finished. So you have to figure out what you're really good at. Once you do it, you're going to do extremely, extremely well. Okay.
Exactly.
I am going to make Melissa the host. You're not the host right now, right, Melissa?
Right.
So I'm changing you over. Did that work?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, guys, now you get Melissa, and I'll see you on the last week. How's that?
Thanks,
We're
Laura Lee.
trading off.
Thank you. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Laura Lee.
Have a good day, guys.
Hi, everybody. You're getting 2 for the price of 1 today.
It's really awesome.
So yeah, we'll pick up where Laura Lee left off. That's awesome. I think everybody knows me, but just in case, I'm Melissa. I am part of the broker team. I'm one of your managing associate brokers. I'm also part of the leadership team for the office, and also a working realtor as well on a team. So I can I wear multiple hats, and I can give you different perspectives on different things, depending on whether it's team related, business generating activity, or broker related. So I'm here to answer any questions you guys have. So stop me as we go
through, and I'll just bring up the PowerPoint here, just one sec.
Melissa,
How are
can
you
I
guys
just-
enjoying Ignite so far?
Wonderful. Melissa, can I ask you a question off topic for a second?
You sure can, Mike.
I've got a listing in Antigonish, and there's a lawyer that wants to write an offer on it for a client. Now, there was a big controversy about that a decade ago where the Cape Breton agents or lawyers are getting involved. But can they just write me an offer like another agent? How do I deal with that?
The lawyer, yeah, they can. It's very unusual, but the lawyers do have the ability to trade in real estate. Typically, they don't. But the last case that we dealt with from a broker perspective, the lawyer is able to do that.
Do we pay them?
Typically, I don't feel that we did in the last one. I'd have to double check. I don't recall that we paid them a commission, but I would have to check on that, Mike.
Yeah, no, that'd be
And
great.
it's been a while since that situation presented itself for us as a broker thing. So
Yeah, 21 years in the business, I followed it, but I've never come across it before. And now all of a sudden, like they're always saying everything changes, never think you know everything. 21 years, and now all of a sudden this left hook is thrown at me, and I don't know if the guy gets paid. I can take his offer, but then where do we go from there?
yeah, and you can take his offer, and it would be the same as if the buyer's being represented by an agent. The lawyer can would be the one advising them, would be the one in the client relationship with the buyer. So all of that side of it is the same. It's just you're going to end up dealing with the lawyer instead of another industry member.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I'm super interested in this outcome, Mike. If I run across you in another chat room, I'm going to want to know what happened. This feels like one of those the rest of the story things from way back when, where I'm like, dun, dun, dun.
Well, I said to the lawyer, because it doesn't sound like he's familiar with real estate, acting on that side. And I said to him, I said, look, I know there was controversy. I know you can write an offer, but I think it's almost like a private sale. And, I can't give your guy advice. It's up to you if you're comfortable with it. But I also know if I go outside the description of my job as a realtor, my errors and omissions doesn't cover me. So you may want to check on your errors and omissions insurance as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's good advice. But yes, absolutely. You're right. You can't cross over. You can't provide his client any advice in any way. So if he's not able or not savvy enough in a real estate transaction, right? If he's not a practicing real estate lawyer, doesn't know the ins and outs of a real estate transaction, he really should be referring him to an agent. And right, that would be my recommendation. So yeah, I've got a note. I'll check on that, Mike, and get back to you.
Great.
All right, let's move. All right, so lead generate. So normally, guys, when we do this session in class, this would be the point where we would get you to actually go do your calls. I'm gonna in the essence of time and on Zoom and all of that, I don't know what the other instructors have been doing, but I think for this, what makes the most sense is for you to do this on your own time. So the idea is that you're gonna make 20 minutes of calls as part of your lead generation, and ask for referrals as part of that. And there's a few scripts in the material that you can call. The ones for this week are personal and professional service industries. So something like it goes, hi, Mr. Business Owner, I'm Melissa with Keller Williams Realty. I'm in the process of creating a list of preferred business and service providers to give my clients. Since I frequently have clients ask me for a good landscaper, I only want trusted companies to refer them to. Since I have had excellent service from you, would you and your business be interested in being included? So if they say yes, then you move on to the next part of the script, which is great. I'd like to establish these professional referral partnerships to help grow each other's businesses as well. So if I were to refer clients to you, would you be willing to refer your clients that are looking to buy or sell a home to me, with the assurance that I will provide them with the high level of customer service that you expect? And if they say yes, then say, excellent. How about we confirm each other's contact information so that we can get started? So that's one of the two scripts that are in the material. And there's another one there for a business owner that you haven't done business with. So you're just looking to build your database and, fill that spot where you might need, maybe you don't have a landscaper or you don't know of a painter. One of the resources that we have for that is on our Weebly, which is our internal intranet for the office. So if you haven't been into Weebly, it's a great resource. The password is profit share, and you'll see in there our trusted partners. So those are people that agents in the office have used and their clients have used, and they would recommend them. So there's a list there for service providers. And then you'll see in our closed Facebook group as well that often there's chats for people looking for recommendations for, service providers that they would recommend. So I know House Cleaner was one that was up a couple times recently, and you'll see, other agents in the office will say, oh, so-and-so cleaning service is fantastic, try them. So there are multiple resources there, but this is a great way for you to build some people into your database that are in the service industry that you might not already have in there. Questions on that? It's pretty straightforward, right? So the next part is it talks about, let me just, can you guys see my screen okay? Okay, perfect. The next part just talks about finding the right home as quickly is a win-win. So what you want to do is start with your buyer consultation, and then you move through the process to get to the offer. And obviously the offer part is the most rewarding part of that process, and finding them the right home, and then actually winning it, which is what we're experiencing now in this market because of the low inventory. You're typically competing in multiple offers. So it's now strategizing how to make your offer competitive amongst all the others so that you win, and you win the house for the buyer. So there's some stats here, which these are some older stats, but they really, if anything, have actually increased. But in the material, you'll see, like they've said, 85% of Canadian home buyers begin their search online. Nearly half of today's home buyers are comprised of Gen X, with Gen Y, millennials following closely. So that's a 46% versus 38%. 86% of buyers considering virtualization of model homes as an important tool, and 89% using online customer reviews to make their home buying decision. 68% of consumers consider walk-in closets as a non-negotiable feature and in their next home, with an equal number of buyers highlighting energy efficient appliances as a must-have. And you'll see there's a lot more around energy efficiency even now than there used to, even 5 years ago with the net zero homes, and there's grants for solar now and all of that. So you're seeing the more focus on energy efficiency and searches now for people. Health and wellness concerns top the list of community preferences as well, with walking trails, bike paths, parks, recreation being cited as the most sought after amenities. Again, that's even more of a factor now than it was when this course was written, and we're seeing that especially as a result of COVID. and a lot of the influx of people coming from out of province right now, they are wanting, you know, to have a yard and to have access to walking trails and parks and lakes and the ocean and all of that, you know, we have here in Nova Scotia that they may not necessarily have in their home province right now. So that is especially important to people in light of COVID. A lot of people now are realizing how important it is for them to have a yard and, you know, their own space to go out and get some fresh air, you know, especially when we're in a lockdown and people can't venture too far from their own home or their own community. They want to have those amenities close by now. It's more important. And while 35% of respondents would prefer a single family detached 2-story home for their next house, surprisingly, the largest item buyers are willing to compromise on to reduce the cost of their next home is the size. None of the respondents would compromise on quality or energy efficiency. So as I said, these stats are a few years old now. There really hasn't been a whole lot of change. We've had updates on these stats. And if anything, I think the first stat for people searching online where they said it was 85%, I think we're up to closer to 88, 89 at the last conference we were at when they talked about that. So if anything, it's becoming more prevalent. So you guys stop me if you have any questions, okay?
Melissa, again, just to jump back to what you said about the competing offers and that, it's a new market. I've been out of it now for a year, so I'm getting back in again. I know how to compete, but I'm not exposed to all the multiple offers coming in. So what are agents doing right now to make their offer better looking than the one coming in? Is there something new? What's the most common factors?
So there's a few things. The letter is one. So we're seeing that buyers do up a little introduction letter to be presented with their offer, which tells the sellers a little bit about the buyers. And the most effective letters that I have seen have actually been very personal. So, and tying the reasoning why the buyer wants the house, likes the house, how they're going to care for the house, how they're going to show their appreciation for what the homeowner has done. So if there's something specific that's, you know, drawing them to the home, it's important to highlight that. And the letters have worked. I know there was some conversation in one of our training sessions recently about that and whether they were effective or whether the sellers even considered it. And the answer is yes. We've even in our own office have had numerous, my personally on myself and on our team and within our entire office, we've had agents who have won out in a competing offer situation because they provided the letter and provided that extra information on the buyers, and they weren't the highest offer. They weren't the highest price offer, but the seller chose to go with their offer because of the reasoning in their letter. So if you've got offers coming in and they're close, the letter can make a difference, you know, so it doesn't always necessarily come down to price. So if the letter would be the first thing I would say. The other thing that's important is closing date, more so now than ever. And you'll see on your realtor view of cuts, and I'll flip to Paragon and I can show you guys that as we go through this, but you'll see they have highlighted in Paragon on the realtor view possession. And often if there is a preferred possession date for the seller, they'll indicate it there. So sometimes it'll say negotiable, but now more so than not, it'll tell you what their preference is. So if they want an end of May closing, if they want an end of June closing, they want a fall closing, it will say there. And if it doesn't say in the possession section on Paragon, on the Realtor View, then I would, if your buyers are going to move ahead with an offer, then I would ask the listing agent what their preferred closing date is. Because again, for some sellers, a closing date can trump money in some cases. So they might be willing to take $5,000 less if it means that their kids don't get uprooted from school and can finish out the school year. It maybe they're waiting on a new build to finish and they're trying not to move twice. So to coordinate that, to them, it's worth it to not have to move twice. So they're going to take the offer that gives them the exact closing date that works. So that would be the second strategy I would recommend, is finding out what their preference is for closing date and then giving it to them, or giving it. And then the other thing now we're seeing, Mike, that we are never used to see is waiving of conditions on the offers. And a lot of that's being driven by the Ontario buyers coming down. Because in Ontario, especially in the greater Toronto area, they are used to a market like this. They've been in a market like this for years. So they're used to not being able to do a home inspection. They're used to waiving that. And, you're competing and you just offer, you have no inspection, and that's that. So a lot of the Ontario buyers coming down are now putting that pressure on our market here because they are offering without inspection. So in doing that, you have to make sure that you're advising your buyer properly. So, obviously it's going to depend on the house. It's going to depend on the, savviness of the buyer and whether they have the ability and knowledge, to make repairs. Obviously, if it's a contractor or someone who's flipped houses, they're at a different level of expertise than a first-time home buyer. So knowing that and having that conversation with your clients is important. We also the broker team has put out a really nice waiver document for you guys to use, which is available on Weebly, and I think Erin's got it uploaded in our Google Docs as well. And that's for use when you're in a client situation. So when the buyer is a full client, not a customer, because when they're a customer, you can't advise them in any way. But when they are a client and they're in a full client situation with you, then you can advise whether or not you feel it's appropriate to be waiving inspection. Sometimes the buyer is so desperate to get the house that they're willing to waive the inspection, even if you tell them you don't think that's wise. And in that case, the waiver document is even more important to use because it basically shows that you've advised them to do this inspection and they've declined, and they initial that they've declined the inspection and that you've made them aware it's important. And you're protecting yourself. You're also protecting the client because, if something happens a year, 2 years down the road, or they move in and they say, oh, I should have done an inspection. You've got it documented that you guys did have the conversation and they chose not to. So I would say tread lightly on the waiving of inspection. It really is going to come down to the buyer's expertise, what they have as their ability to do that. And the house specifically, I mean, obviously, a house that's, a new build is going to be very different than a 100-year-old house on the peninsula that might have knob and tube wire, might have lead pipes, might have et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that would be the difference. There are extremes in the house itself and what you're looking at with them. So that would be my advice. And if you're unsure of that at any time, call the broker team and we can help talk it out with you, so that you feel comfortable and the client feels comfortable moving forward. But I would say we are seeing more and more offers that are waiving inspection. We're seeing now also financing waived. A lot, again, that's coming from a lot of the buyers coming from Ontario, and especially if BC, where their prices, average sale price is so much higher than ours. Many of them are selling their homes and they've got the money free and clear to purchase something here because our average sale price is just that much lower. So they're pocketing quite a substantial amount from their sales in the other provinces. And so if they have the ability to not make it subject to financing, that definitely makes their offer stronger as well. But I would say, we're still seeing quite a lot of financing conditions on offers. And one thing I will caution you on now, because of the market we're in, and we're seeing so many homes sell above list price, is that the banks are now making appraisals pretty much a standard thing. Whereas in the past, an appraisal was typically, if they weren't doing the CMHC financed, insured mortgage. So if they were putting less than 20% down, then you've got a CMHC insured mortgage. So they typically would not do an appraisal because they've got that mortgage insurance built in there. So in the bank's eyes, it's less risky because you've got CMHC or Genworth insuring that mortgage. If the buyer was putting more than 20% down, it would trigger an appraisal because it wasn't insured. So even though logically it would seem that putting more down would make the client a stronger mortgage candidate, the bank looks at it as that it's higher risk because there's no insurance involved. So they would trigger an appraisal. Now in the market we're in, because everything is selling over ask and significantly over ask, the banks are pretty much triggering an appraisal on anything. So whether it's CMHC insured or not, it's triggering an appraisal. And right now in the city, we are finding that we have too few appraisers for the number of appraisals being ordered by the banks. So where if your people are financing, you're going to want to make sure that they are clear with their lender, mortgage broker, bank, whether an appraisal is required, which I would say 99% of the time it's going to be now, and what sort of turnaround time they're expecting. I'll tell you that from our experience with agents in the office right now, you're looking at least a 10-day booking for an appraiser, to get an appraiser in there. So that means you're really going to need about 2 weeks on your financing clause, which puts it out longer than you'd want to have it competitive wise for your offer. But you also need to ensure that you're protecting the buyer. And if the bank requires an appraisal, they are going to need the ability to do that. And you need to they can't get their final financing approval without it. So you have to calculate that now into your timeframes for your conditions for financing. So that's my long roundabout answer, Mike. But yeah, those would be sort of I guess I've given you 4 main strategies. So just to summarize: the letter, closing date, whether or not they can and should waive inspection, and then whether it is financed or not. If they have the ability to waive financing, that makes it stronger. And then if not, then making sure that you've got enough time to cover out an appraisal. And then the last thing I'll just throw in would be deposit. And the larger the deposit typically signifies their seriousness to follow through with the purchase. It shows, a good intent, I would say. So if you're able to bump up that deposit higher than what you would typically see, then I would do that. So like our deposits here, generally speaking, are lower than what you would find in Ontario and BC. Now, our agents that practice on the South Shore, because there tends to be a lot of foreign buyers on the South Shore, their deposits are quite a bit higher. It's not unusual to see a $20,000 deposit on a sale in the South Shore, whereas here, you know, 20,000 would be something we would see more rarely. Like you're talking a purchase price of 500,000 or above. To see a $20,000 deposit, typically you're going to see more like 5-10, depending on what price range the property is in. But that would be the other thing, is if they have the ability to put a little bit more for the deposit, that can signify their seriousness. All right, we'll keep going, but so yeah, that's it for the market now.
So Melissa, don't apologize for giving all this that information. We could probably, not speaking for other people, but sit here all day and listen to you talk and learn. So no worries, don't apologize.
Okay.
Great question.
I know it's like, I just like, because
awesome.
for those of you who like to stick to the material, though, I apologize for being off material, but it is, thank you, Jen. It's valuable information, and the market we're in right now is just so different than what the basically last year and a half is a market unlike we've ever seen.
Yeah, we need to know these things so that we can read this later for sure. So that's good. And all these things are great. Don't apologize. It's awesome. Thank you.
I took the most notes right now while you were talking about this.
Oh, good. Okay.
So,
Melissa, one of your best strengths is explaining stuff logically and consistently and the full answer. So yeah, no apologies. That's a great response.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Okay, so moving on, and again, if you feel like a question pop in that's related, or just jump in, ask away. So the finding homes, we talked about this. 92% of buyers use the internet in their home search process, and so keeping in mind that this course material was written when more so based on a balanced market, when you would be in a typical market where, the buyer would say, here are my criteria, and there would, potentially be 15 or 20 homes for them to look at, and you have to focus it down. So you're going to see that that's what we're going to talk about next. It doesn't apply as much now because of our lack of inventory, but good for you guys to understand, because when and if we shift back more to a balanced, or we've been also in a very, very much a buyer's market here in the last 10 years. So real estate is cyclical, and we can easily, the pendulum swings both ways. So it's, even though it might not be as useful now for you to use this, it'll be useful for you going forward when we're not in this market condition. So the main focus is talking about your buyer consultation. Okay, so you want to make sure that you do a very thorough buyer consultation, a needs analysis with them. So you're asking them questions, and the idea with that is to get to their sort of, I'll call it like their 5 must-haves. So that when you are in the situation where you have, 15 or 20 properties that might come up available at one time for them to consider, you can then start to narrow it down and focus on what would be the best fit for them. And even in this market, it's helpful because, you don't have to jump and run to show them something that already has a deal breaker factor for them. So if they say to you, we need to be in X school district, and we don't want to be in any other school district other than this school, and then one pops up 5 kilometers away in a different school district, you can have that conversation with them and say, okay, I understand this is the perfect house, but you told me that X school was a deal breaker. So this perfect house is in such and such school district. Is that still important to you, or are you willing to compromise on that? And it helps them refocus. Sometimes you have to ask them questions to help them refocus because they can get excited, distracted, etc. So it's important that you really do a thorough buyer consultation with them, so you are aware and of what their must-haves are, what's important to them. It helps you curate the list. Okay. And right now, a lot of, especially where people are working from home more, and well, now even so, but they're checking online as well, so they'll send you things, but it's important to set them up on a buyer instant notification, so it lets them know when a property matching their needs will appear on the market. So you can set them up right in Paragon for that. Have you guys taken that courses with Steve Killorn at NSAR? Okay. If you haven't, I recommend that you do. Steve's great at explaining the ins and outs of Paragon and how to do a search and how to set someone up in contacts and all of that. It's really helpful to know that. And the nice thing about setting them up in contacts on Paragon, you just go in, set up their name, their email, and then you add a search. And what I will caution you on is the more refined, so the more criteria you put in the search, the more limiting the results are going to be. So it depends on how fine you want the results to be. So that's a conversation to have with them. If they say, I won't look at anything that doesn't have a garage, don't send me anything with a garage. Without a garage, then obviously you're going to need to put a garage in your search criteria. Otherwise, you're just going to tick them off by sending them stuff that doesn't have a garage. Some people, though, would say a garage is a must for me, but if there's room to build one, I'll build one. So you can send me both. Okay, so that's part of your buyer consult in knowing that. If you're looking in an area that the lot sizes are a little bit larger and there's potentially room for them to build a garage, then you don't necessarily want to refine that criteria because they're okay with building one. And as long as the lot has the room, they'll build it if it doesn't have one. So that's what I mean when
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
So, for me, I've been finding as I'm doing searches that they realize their dollars don't buy them what they thought.
Yes.
So or the area they thought.
Yeah.
So I find that I'm starting with an area and then I'll end up broadening it, or they give up some of the conditions that they want for the house. And that's typical, I would think, hey?
It is. Yep.
Yeah.
Very
Okay.
typical. And we had in previous training, and I forget who the trainer was we had, but we used to say like the price and the expectations would be like this, and you want to bring them more like this, right? In line. So often their expectations are much higher than what their price that they can pay is. So it's about having that conversation with them. And sometimes it depends on the buyer and the personality that you're dealing with. Sometimes you have to start sending them things so that they can see, oh, we need to make an adjustment here, right? This isn't what's going to work for us. And in that case, they might say, okay, we were pre-approved a little higher. We're going to push up our budget to our max so that we can get more of what we want. Or they may say, all right, X area obviously isn't going to work. We can't find anything there. So we're willing to go to, this area and that area because we can get what we want there. So it's a very common. And now in the market we're in, because a lot of the times their pre-approval amount, you need to consider that, because previously you could search up to just under their pre-approval amount and not be concerned about them paying way over list, but now that's not the case. So you just want to make sure that you have that conversation with them about what is your pre-approval amount, what's your max, okay, what are you comfortable with, and then keeping in mind that anything we look at now, the list price is not what it's going to sell for. It's going to sell for higher than that. So we may need to adjust our search accordingly, because we need to be prepared to be able to bid 50, 75, 100,000 over the list price. right? So it's about setting the expectation with the buyer as well, which you can do from your initial buyer consultation with them. So the good thing about the Paragon notifications is that you can have it set up so that it'll notify you at the same time. So you can have them set up in Collab Center, or you can have them just set up as a pure email from Paragon. So either or. A lot of the clients seem to really like the Collab Center because they can go in and mark things as a favorite or reject it, and then you can see, and you can see, oh, they favorited that one, they rejected that one. Like, so the Collab Center is more. It's got a more user involvement element to it, which is kind of fun for the buyer. But the main thing is to just make sure that you're paying attention as well to what's being sent to them. So it will show you, or it'll notify you when they're getting something. So that way, if they message you and they're like, that one that just came on Main Street looks fantastic, and you can then go back and say, because it would have come to you at the same time, you say, yeah, it looks great, do you want to see it? We can set up a showing, and go from there. And it's obviously, you can't know everything new that comes on all the time, but it's helpful to help you keep track of it when you've got them set up, because you'll get the notification as well.
So I've been using that for two different individuals, and it works great.
Yeah.
I can see though, when we just took the thing with Steve at Paragon, or for the Paragon, how annoying it could be if you have too many in there with the emails coming through. So it'd be part of your daily routine. Yeah, see, about to spit it. Like, that part of your daily routine would be just to go back in and actually check to see what they've liked. I think that'd be the better solution, because the emails, I only have 2, and there's only one doing active. And it's like, he's on it all the time.
I know, message. Yeah, I know. And you're absolutely right, Dennis. It makes more sense when you get to that point. Like, if you've got multiple buyers in there all on active searches at once, then yes, it's better to just time block some time in your day to go through and take a quick look.
Yeah, it's a great system though. Like, it's a great system the way that it works, and you can actually see kind of where their preferences are. So like, the one guy I set him up on this max radius, and I didn't hone him into areas yet, and I let him play for about a week, and then I went back and then sectioned them off and said, here's your areas that you actually want to be.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
Great idea, Dennis.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, it's great. It's a great tool, and I've had buyers have been very, very positive about it. And yeah, since they've made that collab center more interactive, it's made a big difference, because it wasn't that interactive originally, and it's much better now.
the only thing I'll say for anybody that's new, when you do it your first time, try not to keep going in every little bit to check it, because it's exciting, right? When you have someone in there.
And if you don't have anyone in there yet, it's a nice idea just for fun to set, if you've got a separate, like Hotmail or Gmail account that's like a private or an old one, or a spouse, to set them up for fun, just so you can go in and practice with it, and then you can see what
I set myself up on a different email.
Perfect. Exactly.
Yeah. So I'll set that up, and then if I like it, I'll share it to the client. And if I don't like it, so.
Yeah.
Redo it.
Just remember, you're never alone with a schizophrenic.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I had to do that. But the other thing that I've done for one of my clients was Russian. My very, very first client was a Russian guy, and he ended up buying direct from a builder before he signed me on. He sort of did a timed offer that he could accept or reject by March 5th. It's kind of weird. But anyway, he wasn't represented by an agent, and then signed me after the fact. And he didn't understand what some properties meant to him, but I kind of got from him and his wife what they wanted. So I went into the collab center after, and I rejected a bunch for them just to make it easier, because I knew I couldn't fine tune it on the search, but I knew they weren't looking for that. Right.
Good.
So, yeah.
I did the same thing, because they're from Toronto, and I was told, like, when you take that Paragon thing, don't do that, let them do it. But I'm like, but they're from Toronto, they don't know Like he said, he wants a good school, he wants this. So I actually went in, rejected. I actually hearted. I put a couple question marks up, and then he came back through and switched them. So it was good. It's interactive. I like it.
Yeah.
No, it's really cool. I do like it. I just got to fine tune. I'm still fine tuning stuff I started February 5th. I'm like, it's been 3 months already. I'm still fine tuning things.
And you will. That's the nature of the business, right? Like Mike said, you know, he's been in the business for years. It's ever changing, always evolving, right? So
Yeah.
you find that with real estate, you'll get into a groove and know what works for you. But there's always little changes, improvements. You know, it's an ever evolving industry. So that's completely normal.
Cool.
Okay, so the next thing is finding qualifying properties. So the when they're searching online, okay, we've covered this. I'm sorry, I'm going a little. I'm just talking. I'm following it, but I'm telling you I'm adding my own kind of spin on the material because I think it's helpful for you guys to have that sort of actual examples within our.
Oh, I love that. Makes such a difference, Melissa. Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
Oh, you're welcome. So yes, we covered that when they call and, you know, say, or text in most cases now, you know, they get all excited about X house, and then, you know, you go on and say, well, you know, it doesn't have X must have, you know, so fine tuning that. The important thing now, obviously, is to also be checking that the property is still available. So you want to go on to Paragon, check to make sure it's still active, and then check to see when they're accepting offers and whether
I've learned too, though, wouldn't it be better actually to call the agent?
You can. The status on Paragon is usually accurate within about 24 hours. If something sells over a weekend, it's 48 hours. So before you'll see it pop up conditional pending. So like if something were to sell on a Friday night, you wouldn't necessarily see it pop up conditional pending till Monday when the office staff is back in to make that change.
I've only made a few offers, but of 3 of the offers, 2 of them had already had an accepted offer on it before we,
Yeah. So yes, in this market, that's exactly right. You want to check Paragon first, check to see in the showing instructions, you'll see it'll say when they're accepting offers, if preemptive offers are being accepted or not. So if they are accepting preemptive offers, that means that the seller is willing and able to accept an offer before that set time that they've given. If they say they're not taking or accepting preemptive offers, that means everything has to be presented and in during their specified time. So that's the main difference now. And on the listing side, just as a heads up for you guys, it's important to make sure you have that indicated on your addendum, which is what formulates the MLS listing cut. And you also want to have it in your SDBA because you have written.
What's SDBA again?
Seller designated brokerage agreement.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm not used to use.
That's okay.
3
That's
months.
my broker jargon, right?
I wrote that down. I wrote that down the other day, Joanne. I'm like, what are you talking about?
I know PDS, but I don't know. Like, I still don't refer as the buyer or the seller designated things. Like, no, I'm not there yet. Sorry.
That's okay.
Melissa, what is it we want to make sure is in there?
So you want to make sure that the instructions on whether they are or are not accepting preemptive offers is in your seller designated brokerage agreement. And Anne did up a nice tidy little letter that you can actually attach. So the clause is already all written out and there's blanks and you can fill it in with the seller's name and the date that you're going to be presenting the offers. And it makes it really easy. You just print the letter, fill it in, attach it to your SDBA, and you're good to go. but from the buyer agent side, guys, that's the important thing to know, is that they should really have that in their agreement. So if it's indicated on the showing instructions on the cut, what they're doing, that's important for you to know, so make sure you're always checking that. And you'll also see sometimes in the showing instructions how to book the showing. So whether it's showing time, pretty much everybody's doing showing time now, or whether, you know, it's a text or a call to the agent. Sometimes if there's a pet, a cat specifically is typically what you'll see there, and it'll be don't let the cat or cats out. And I can tell you, it's not fun to chase a cat around a property. We've all done it, and they're sneaky, and they'll get out if they have the opportunity. So just be aware that you're always checking that instruction to members and the showing instructions on the realtor view of the listing cuts.
So this was exactly what they were saying with NSAR about look at the instructions to find out, because this was the other email the other day. Okay.
So
We have a solution for replacement of exact payment yet?
it's coming. Oh, shoot, I closed it.
I really liked exact deposit. I just got used to that and they took it away.
So did we. Yeah, it's going to be another form of an electronic deposit. What we're doing is we're off topic a bit, but I'll be brief. Because of the volume of deposits that we have, we can't do just an e-transfer, because they have the banks, and it's not just our bank, but it's a federally regulated thing across the country. There's a daily limit of $10,000 on e-transfers. So as you can imagine, with the size, you know, the larger offices like ours, and like, you know, there's 2 or 3 others, the volume of deposits that are coming into our trust account daily far surpasses $10,000 a day. So we end up with a backlog of deposits, and then you get into issues with, are the deposits late because they haven't actually been deposited into the trust account? They can expire, so then that puts things at risk as far as the deal goes. And then on the broker side, you know, there's a lot of compliance around the trust account and auditing. We have a trust audit pretty much every year from the commission. That's the broker side, but that's just a little bit of the nuts and bolts behind the scenes, just so you guys understand. It's just not a simple thing that we can switch. So that's why when exact deposit came out, it was a perfect solution for that, because it acts more like a wire transfer, so there's no daily limit on it, and so then we can deposit everything into the trust account with no issues. But now that they're going to cease to exist, we're switching. It's going to be like a bill payment. So we're going to have the brokerage registered as a bill payee. So same sort of thing, like when you go on your online banking and you can select Nova Scotia Power as a bill payee, we'll have Keller Williams Select Realty registered as a bill payee. And the buyer will be able to go in, select us as a payee, and submit their trust deposit that way. And that'll be something that'll work for all the big 5 banks. So that's what's happening, but there is a whole rigmarole behind the scenes, because we have to sign agreements with all big 5 banks and get them set up. So that's why we haven't sent you guys out an actual formal communication on that yet, because we're still working on getting it confirmed and set up. We just actually got confirmation yesterday that it's a go and that they're going to do it, but there's probably going to be a couple weeks of sort of in between time. But Exact Deposit has actually agreed to extend a little bit for us as well. So there will be a communication coming on that. It's just, yes, there's a lot of moving parts to it. So that's why I know everybody's kind of like, what's happening? But don't worry, we know that we need an electronic form of deposit, and we will have one, and we've got it sorted so that we will. It's just we're just kind of getting that final confirmation done. So
I appreciate all that information. You just
Yeah.
made me feel much better. Thank you.
yeah, so that's the behind the scenes on that.
So I have a quick question just to keep us off topic, but it is quick. I have a listing coming up shortly. We're gonna go do the viewing there this weekend, get them to sign over on the documents and stuff. But
Awesome.
it's a mobile that he's renting out.
Yep.
So my concern is right now with the market is a lot of people are losing their homes. So my thought process is I'm going to try to list it as rental potential with the two people that want to stay in there. But anybody can buy it and boot them out. So what's the time frame for that? Like, what do I have to warn my client?
So it's tenant occupied now. Okay. And are these guys on a month-to-month lease?
I'll ask.
Okay, so that's a question.
Most
what's
likely.
the term
And
is-
what if they're on a yearly lease? Like I'm doing the same thing with an investment property and her lease is up in August.
So
So
if
he
they're
was
on
gonna
a
give her-
yearly lease, then she cannot be asked to vacate until after her yearly lease is up.
Right.
And there's also an extra piece to this in that during COVID, there has been legislation come through that you cannot evict or give notice to a tenant for the sale of a property unless it's going to be owner occupied by the new owner or an immediate family of the new owner. Because we're in such a housing crisis, the government brought this in to try to protect tenants' rights so that we didn't have all these tenants on the street because there aren't enough places for them to go. So right now, and if you were in our last monthly meeting and did a session on this, when was it, last Wednesday, on tenancy, that was her broker corner training in the meeting on Wednesday. And so you can go back and watch that, but to highlight it, it's the Tendencies Act. You can read it all there, but essentially you have to advise your seller if they're not aware that they're going to need to chat with the check on the new laws with the Tendency Act. They came into play. They are in effect until February 2022. So you have to give 3 months notice. And if they're not moving in until after February 1st, 2022, then that's fine. But if they're trying to move in before February 1st of 2022, then you need a signed affidavit with the notice. So you need a signed affidavit from the new buyer who is going to owner occupy the property. And then that signed affidavit gets provided with the notice from the current landlord owner to the tenant. And it needs to be 2 full months notice. And it has to actually be 60 days from the start of the following months that they pay rent. So if, like, it's May 15th, the notice actually has to go from June 1st, which would be when they pay their next month's rent. And then the clock goes the 60 days from the June 1st. So there's some complications and just making sure that the dates line up. So if your condition dates say is May 15th that it firms, and then you serve them with their notice, the clock for the 60 days from when the next month that they pay rent is June 1st. So then you're into July 1st, August 1st. So you can't close until after August 1st. Okay. So yeah, there's a whole new element with tenants right now because of that legislation that came in because of COVID. So that is the important thing to make sure if your seller is not aware, that you inform them of that. And then you also have to then, as the listing agent, inform buyer's agents, because some buyers agents and buyers may not be aware that you're not going to just simply be able to kick that tenant out with 30 and close that thing in 30 days. So if they want to keep the tenant, great, no problem. You can close whenever. They can
And then
re-sign
they'd
the
have to keep the
leases.
tenant, but they'd have to keep the tenant until February 2022.
That's right.
2022.
Yep. Unless they're going to own or occupy.
Yeah.
And if they're going to own or occupy, or an immediate family of the new owner is going to own or occupy, then they can provide them with the notice, but it still needs to be that 2 full months notice with a signed affidavit that they're going to own or occupy.
Perfect. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. I forget what I was going to show you now. Oh, yes.
Sorry.
That's okay. I think I was just going to show you, we'll just grab onto a new listing here. I was just going to highlight the showing instructions so you guys could see. Oh, it's being slow today. Hello. There we go. Here's one. So you'll see here in the instruction to members, follow COVID protocols, remove shoes, and do not lock doorknob.
You're stuck on your PowerPoint. We don't see anything.
Oh. Let me see here.
There we go.
See it now? Okay.
Yep.
So I'm just on an active cut. This is just a listing that came on today. I just pulled up. So see the instruction to members here. Follow COVID protocols, remove shoes, do not lock door knob locks, deadbolt only. House key opens, shed, all offers submitted by 2 p.m. Monday, May 3rd. Response time left open till 8 p.m. Monday, May 3rd. And then showing instructions here, book through showing time. Do not lock doorknob, deadbolt only. Please remove shoes, house key open, shut. So you'll see in both of these sections, the showing instructions and the instructions to members are the two sections you'll want to make sure that you're paying close attention to. And then this here, possession, is what I was speaking about earlier with Mike about closing date. So these guys have said they're negotiable. So in this case, it would be worth a call to the listing agent to say, I see that you've got negotiable there for closing date, but what is their preference? What's their ideal closing date, right? That helps make your offer more appealing.
I just sold a condo, had 12 interested parties, 8 offers, and not one agent phoned me to find out what was the best closing date. And just because it's crazy out there, we can't assume that it's a quick closing date. You know, as Melissa was saying, they could be waiting for school to get out. They could be waiting for a home be finished being built. So you got to ask the question.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, quick is great for some people. It's not great for others, right? It all depends on their circumstances. Okay, so the next thing is qualifying properties. So this is an exercise that we usually do in groups, but we'll just chat about this a little. So the first thing is with the buyer, you want, as a buyer, to determine what kind of home they want to buy. So you're going to ask, you know, what their price range is, what their neighborhood is, number of bedrooms and bathrooms, any special features. So whether it's a pool, you know, a formal dining room, a fenced backyard, a finished basement, et cetera, right? Lots of different things that could be features that they're looking for. And then you're going to determine the 5 must-haves. So I mentioned that earlier, trying to whittle that down to like the 5 must-haves makes it a lot easier for you. And then based on the number of homes that the result from the search, if you want to refocus it down until you have 15 or fewer. So again, in our market now, you're not going to encounter that issue. But normally you would encounter more, and you'd fine tune it down so that you've got a more curated list of what would be suitable for them, right? So that's when you can sort of refine what it is. So I have a note here just to chat a little bit now about mere postings. Have you guys had anybody chat with you about them yet? No and yes, a mixture? Okay. Just a quick thing. We do have what's called mere postings. This was a result of the Competition Bureau case years ago. They went to our CREA, our national body anyway, and they felt that our MLS systems across the country were a monopoly. So with that said, they decided to allow a private for sale by owner to be posted on our MLS. Okay, so that's sort of the backstory on it. That's how it happened. So what it's called a mere posting. And that's where you have a for sale by owner posted on our MLS. You'll see on the cut, it will typically, it'll say it's a mere posting. One of the more common, if you look at the bottom, there will be an agent there. One of the more typical ones is Ravi Dura. He was with the Century 21. I don't know if he still is. I think it's his own standalone thing now. But anyway, essentially what it is they allow them to post their property on MLS, and there's no listing brokerage. So this Ravi is not their agent. He doesn't represent them. There is no listing brokerage. They are a mere posting is a for sale by owner on MLS. So you're going to contact the seller directly to make showings. You're going to contact the seller directly for offers. And you're going to, in most cases now, it'll indicate whether the seller's willing to pay a buyer agent commission. If it's not indicated, then that's a question you want to make sure you ask right up front so that you know before you show it what the situation is with compensation. Because there's nothing worse than getting a buyer in there, they fall in love with it, and then you find out that seller's not willing to pay you your 2 or 2.5%. Okay, so if you end up dealing with a mere posting, to show it, you want to you want to ask that question: are they cooperating with agents? Are you paying a 2.5% commission for a buyer agent? You get the answers to the questions. Hopefully they're yes. In most cases they will be. Then you proceed, go, show, and then see if the person likes it. If they like the property and they want to move ahead with an offer, then it's a little bit of a different process as far as paperwork goes, because with a mere posting, there's more paperwork for you to do because they don't have an agent. They're not represented. So the first step would be to have them sign a seller customer status fee agreement, which indicates that they are willing to pay you your commission. Okay, they sign that first with working with the realtor, and you will FinTrack ID them as well. You'll do all of that paperwork first before you even get to the offer stage. You need to have a signed customer status fee agreement with that seller before you can do any offer. And the reason being is that if that seller says, I'm not willing to pay you, then you're going to need to have that conversation with your buyer, and that could impact what they're willing to offer. Okay, so that's the reason why it's a very specific step that you have to have in place before you move to your offer situation. So they sign once they have you have the fee agreement signed, you're working with a realtor signed, your ID forms, then you can go ahead and do your offer, and then you can present that offer to the seller. So the seller is not represented, and that's why you have them sign the working with a realtor and the fee agreement first, so they fully understand that they're not being represented, they are not getting any advice, and that you are fully representing your buyer, and you are giving your buyer advice, and you work for the buyer. You have no allegiance to them whatsoever. So if they want advice, they need to go to their lawyer. Okay. If you end up in a mere posting situation, you need to call the broker team. Okay. That's sort of the overall highlight of how it works. So I just want you guys to have an understanding of what it is, how the process that you need to go through. But I don't expect that you're going to necessarily remember all that. And there are little interesting little things that will come up. There is also sometimes you'll have a discount broker. So that is different than a mere posting. A discount brokerage you'll see on the system is where it's exactly as it sounds. They're offering a lower commission. So they're typically paying their agent a lower commission and you as the buyer rep a lower commission. So in that case, usually it will be posted, right, what they're willing to pay. They are represented by an agent where it's we call them a discount brokerage. And in some cases, it's quite a bit lower what's offered to the buying brokerage rep than what you would typically see, what you're used to seeing. So in that case, you can ask for more. In this market, you have to be aware that in doing so could put your buyer at a disadvantage in a competing offer situation if you write it into your agreement that they need to pay the 2.5%, whatever the case may be. I will tell you, a lot of agents will write it in because most agents, right, are in an agency agreement with their buyer. They're putting a lot of time and effort and work with their buyer, so they expect to be compensated, as you should be. But you can and will run across a very specific kind of seller that may not be willing to offer, any additional commission than what they've got posted. And in that case, then that becomes a conversation of, do you put it in the offer and ask them to top that up? Do you ask your buyer to top it up, which is another conversation that you can have? Or do you just leave it be? Is it close enough to what you would, expect that you're just fine with it as is? So again, I just want you guys to be aware that you can come across properties like that in your search on Paragon. And that's sort of the two main ones that you'll find, and that's how you deal with them. If you come across that situation, and if your buyer is going to move ahead with an offer, please call the broker team. We will walk you through it and help you with that, because it is a different process. Okay. Questions on that? No? Okay. So next, once you get your properties refined, then obviously you're going to prepare to show them the homes and touring the homes. And so we talk about preparing the homes. So again, this is based on, having multiple to show them at once. Your typical situation where you would have maybe 5 or 10 to show them, right, at one time, which so the idea is, like we covered already, you're going to look at the showing instructions. You'll call the listing rep to see if it's still available. You'll double check to see when offers are being presented. Try to give 24 hours notice if possible when scheduling your appointments. It makes it easier to get in. If anything's tenant occupied, you'll need to give a minimum of 24 hours notice. Otherwise, you won't be able to show it. Tenants require that. And then you want to also make sure that you've thoroughly gone through the buyer consult with the buyers to make sure that they've got their pre-approval in place, they've got their down payment is available, all of that is good. And then you'll educate yourself on the areas. If it's an area you're not familiar with, then you want to do a little research, reach out to some of the other agents in the office if you're not sure about the area. And then obviously you're going to plan out your route. If again, this is based on showing more than multiple at once. When you're touring with them physically, what we always recommend is to print out. Now, nowadays we're reducing paper and touching, but typically what we would do is print out a client view and a realtor view. you would have your realtor view, you would hand the client view. The nice thing about the client view is it's branded with your name and number at the bottom, right? So that's the main difference there. Now it's, with COVID, the less, touchy-feely that you can do. So I would, email them. Typically they're already set up in the collab center. So, they've seen the cuts and the information. So you don't necessarily have to have a physical paper cut. And if you're actually physically showing properties, and then when you are doing an actual tour in person, what you would do is order them so that you have your cuts in order of your appointments for you and for them. And then you'd proceed with your tour. And that's typically how you would do an out-of-town buyer. So someone who was coming in, on a 2-day house hunting trip, and that would be how you would organize yourself. And you want to make sure that you're helping them understand whether something is like a deal breaker. So something that they just dislike that can be changed easily, like paint, is different than, something that's can't be changed, like the location of the stairs in the house, right? So you want to make sure that you're helping them see the benefits and features. And that's what this next exercise is all about, is coming up with that. So when you're touring the homes, you want to make sure you always ring the doorbell when you, or knock. And then when you go in, announce yourself, like, hello, anybody home, whatever you want to say. And then if you're doing like a full tour with out-of-town buyers, it's nice to get them and you to keep little notes on your cuts. Nowadays, like if notes on their phone, right, to reduce the paper, just helps them keep track. And it's helpful to sort of nickname the houses. So like if one property had, a great view, that might be the one with the view. If, that one had the red dining room, that might be the one with the red dining room. So like those little things, like coming up with little nicknames, helps them to trigger the house in their minds, and it also helps them keep it straight. So if you are showing them 5 to 10 houses in one day, it's helpful to have that to help them keep track of it. And if there is one that is an absolute no, which happens because they're not all going to be perfect, they're all not going to be contenders, it's best to have them like exit out right on the cut so they don't go back to it. Exit out, it's not a contender. The one thing I will say, if you're physically showing the property and they say, no, this isn't the fit, I don't, it's not going to work for X, Y reason, make sure that you still take a quick run through yourself, so that, in normal times, if lights were left on for you, you would turn them off and then secure the house and leave. In COVID now, we leave the lights on because we're trying to reduce the amount of touching. But normally your showing etiquette would be that you would still, as the industry member, still take a quick run through so that you saw the house, you're familiar with it, for any other clients you have. And also you could still provide them some feedback on the showing. Obviously, if the buyer says it's an absolute no, then you're going to not bother wasting a whole lot of time there. Like if they walk in the door and they say it's a completely out of the question for X reason, then don't waste your time in theirs, cut your showing short. But what I'm saying is just make sure that you're being considerate of the fact that that client, that seller took the time to prep the house. So you should still do a quick run through. And especially if you pull up in the front driveway and your buyer says, I'm not going in because it's got, whatever next door and I didn't know that and it's out. Well, you still have to run in and do a quick look. Don't sit in the driveway and cancel the showing. The chances are that people have already gone, they've prepped the house for you. The courteous thing to do is go in, take a quick look, give them the feedback based on what you've seen, and move on, right? You want to make sure that you're being considerate. And sometimes you have to remind a buyer about that. If they were in the situation, you flipped roles. If they were a seller that had spent, hours prepping the house for the showing, they'd be really ticked off if someone was coming to see the house and just canceled it 5 minutes before, or didn't even bother to come in, the front door and at least, take a quick look, or their agent didn't. Okay. So from the agent perspective, I always look at it as a benefit, as far as you never know, it might be a fit for one of your other buyers. And you might be on the flip side, and that agent might have the same situation happen to you, and you'd appreciate as a listing agent to at least have their feedback on the house, right? So just keep that in mind. And it's helpful also to have, when you're in the situation where there's multiple houses to look at, to have your buyer rank the houses. So you'll usually get a feel for what the top one is, because they'll start to compare everything to it. So that's always a good sign if they're doing that. Yeah, that's pretty much, that's it. The main thing is, same thing as before, is, make sure you're asking questions, and make sure you leave it how you found it. So if they've, if the cat was locked in a room and they had, don't let the cat out, don't let the cat out, keep the cat in the room. And just the one thing I will forewarn you is, now we're, again, because of COVID, we don't have kids on showings. But normally, in normal circumstances, you'd have the whole family on the showing. You'd have the parents and the kids, and you just want to make sure that you're aware of where the kids are. Okay. It's not your job. It's not your responsibility, but you also, as an industry member, you can't have kids running to the opposite end of the house and you guys somewhere else and you not seeing what they're doing, because that's when you get, they pick up some ornamental vase and break it on, right? Like, so just be aware of that. I think sometimes it's beyond your control. And if the parents can't control the kids, well, it's hard for you to step in. But just be aware, and also very aware of doors. So sometimes a child, or even the buyer, if the spouses have split and maybe one wanted to get that one last look off the back deck and they went out the back door and came in, they may not necessarily have locked it. And that's a very common thing, is that one person will go back out because they want to check something and they come back in and they don't lock the door. So just make sure that you do a final sweep to make sure, or you're following behind to lock all the doors. Okay. That's the worst thing, is to have that call come back to say, like, so-and-so showed my listing and they left the whole house unlocked, right? So you want to make sure that you're being courteous and respectful of the person's property, right? The other thing is, typically we would leave cards after showings. So often there would be some sort of feature package on the counter or a table somewhere. Again, we're not seeing that so much now with COVID. Same thing with the leaving of the cards. Typically after you were done your showing, you would leave your business card, on the counter, on the table somewhere, so that the homeowner knew you were there. Again, we're kind of seeing 50-50 on this right now, because again, we're trying to minimalize the touching of things and transfer of things. So that's why you may not see people leaving cards right now. And when we were in the last sort of more serious lockdown, nobody was leaving cards, because everybody was trying to not touch things, right? So just be aware of that, be cognizant of that. When we do get back to a more normal showing situation, that's the typical thing, is that you leave your card after, so they know you were there. Okay, so features and benefits. This is pretty much common sense, guys. It's just talks about how to point out the feature. So the feature is something that the house has to offer, and then you're going to tie it back to how it benefits the buyer. Okay, so like the example would be a large yard. The benefit to the buyer is that it's a great place for their kids to play soccer. It's a great space for the dog to run around, right? So another feature could be a large kitchen. So the benefit to your buyer, right? So it's gonna be specific to each buyer. Could be that it's great for them to cook because maybe they love to cook, or they love to entertain. So the spacious kitchen with the huge island is perfect because they want to have like maritime kitchen parties and everybody around the island all the time, right? If it's close to schools and they have kids, then the fact that it could be walking distance is a benefit because they don't have to worry about having a second vehicle. It's very convenient, right? So tying those things together helps them see the positives of why the house is a good match for them. Couple other examples, heat pump, right? Electrical savings, air conditioning is more and more sought after now. That one that has come up that I'll share with you guys in some of the other ignites that we've talked about, and I've experienced this also. Some people are very particular about the facing of their backyard or their front yard. So sometimes it can be a cultural thing. It can be like a feng shui thing. You'll see that with like house numbers and things like that. But sometimes it's just simply a preference. So the common one is that they want a southern exposure. So they want the backyard to face south or southwest or some version of south so that they get the afternoon sun in the backyard. It's quite common. So if you do have that request, to find that out before you're actually physically on the property, you can ask for the location certificate if they have one. It will always show you where due north is in relation to the house or the footings. So if they have a location certificate, you can find it that way. If you're physically at the property, your Compass app on your phone is really a great tool. And I'll tell you personally, I've used it a lot of times because I have had buyers that were very specific to this because they wanted to put a pool in. They wanted their pool in the sun, right? So we were constantly going around with the Compass going, oh yeah, this would be perfect, or oh, it's not quite right, but you could put it over here and it would be great. So again, it's making sure that you're aware of what's important to them, and then you can tie the benefits of a specific feature to the house back to how it works for them.
Melissa, can I steal a minute again, please?
Yeah.
I used to teach sales years ago, and we always talked about three things: features, benefits, and advantages. And more often than not, salespeople try to sell on advantages and not benefits because they don't understand it. A benefit is only a benefit when it answers a customer's stated need. So if they don't have a dog, don't talk about the dog in the backyard. If they don't have kids, don't talk about the school. So when you go through a house, now if you've done your needs analysis, you know exactly what to talk to, because when you do see that yard and it's fenced in, you say, and look, that dog you were saying you wanted to get, look, there's a fenced in backyard, so your dog is safe and they can play there. Your kids can play in the backyard. You don't have to worry about them going out on the street. But it's related to what they told you they need. If they didn't tell you, don't mention it. And don't be that agent in an open house or walking the house saying, oh, there's the kitchen.
Yes.
They're not stupid. They know what the kitchen is.
The Vanna White, right? Just demonstrating. Yeah, I know. It's too funny. Yeah, good point, Mike. And that's exactly it. It's exactly what we just talked about. Yeah, you got to relate it and tie it back to why it's important for them.
And it stops you from talking too much and talking yourself out of a sale, because you're talking about what's important to them.
Exactly. Yep. Okay, the next thing is recognizing buying signals. So when you're touring the home, you can, if you've got them physically with you, it's much easier to pick up on these things. Now doing virtual showings is a little bit harder to pick up on some of the signals when you're, virtually over Zoom or FaceTime or whatever it is. But if you've got them physically there, you can tell a lot by their body language. So and facial expressions. If they start to ask you about what the seller's preference is for a closing date, that's a very good sign. If they start asking you really detailed questions about the house, it's typically a good sign that they're interested. If they're looking for the disclosure statement, extra documents, costs, etc., that's typically a good buying signal that there's some very serious interest. When they start talking about their furniture and they you see them start to visualize and say, oh, well, such and such would look great over there, that's a good signal. Again, I think I mentioned earlier, they'll start to compare other houses to it. So this will be number one and everything's then compared to this one house. If they're talking about home renos that they're going to do to sort of make it their own. So if they're talking about, changing the paint or, changing up some flooring or things like that, that's a good sign. If they actually sit down, which again, in COVID, we're not seeing so much, but back when you could actually maybe sit down on the couch or the love seat, is a good sign. That's very much they're comfortable in the setting. If they become protective, and that's again starts to look at what do you think it would take for us to win? What do you think we'd have to offer to win out? That kind of conversation. That's a fantastic sign. This one, we don't get to have so much in this market, but in a normal market, they'll ask for a second showing. And then, believe it or not, the last thing on the list is raising objections. Often objections are not necessarily that they're not interested in the property. It's usually that they're trying to overcome something themselves. So the other things that you could encounter that are good indicators are some of the more analytical type buyers will ask you what the list to sale price ratio is. They'll ask you what the market stats are for the area. What what houses are selling for similar. So there's a lot of good buying signals there. This is just a quote from Mo Anderson, where there is no passion, there's no vision. So again, kind of tying back to what Mike said, you want to make sure that it's about them. Your focus and your passion is about helping them. It's not about you, it's about them. And then bringing them to a decision. So that is, overcoming some of the objections. There's some great scripts in your materials, guys. I'm not going to read them to you. You guys can read those on your own time, but there's some great objections there, and then scripts that go through the objection and how to answer it. So just to give you some ideas on that. And when you bring them to a decision, I find one of the best thing to do, we keep talking about asking questions, but one of the really key questions to ask is, would you be disappointed if this home went under offer and you didn't get a chance to put your offer in, right? Would you be disappointed if it was no longer available? That sort of triggering question helps them to get to their decision, especially if they're a little unsure about making that next step to actually writing an offer. That's the question that usually will make the difference to them, right? They don't want to lose the house. When you frame it in that way, then if it's really truly the house that they want, they will see that, and often they'll say, no, I don't want to lose it. Let's move forward with an offer. So buyer objections will do that. So the one of the good things, again, when there are options, for multiple houses for them is you might want to suggest like the ranking system. I find that very helpful. So if everything comes down to this is number 1, this is number 2, this is number 3. And now with our market the way it is, sometimes you'll go ahead with an offer on number 1. If you don't get it, then you're going to move to 2 or 3 depending on when they're accepting offers. So you may be able to still get 2 or 3 because you didn't get 1 and they're still accepting offers on the other one. So you're able to do that as well. If the offer times overlap and you're not able to do that, then they have to pick the one they like best, and you just guide them through that to pick the one that they feel is the best fit. You move ahead with their offer. If they're not successful with the offer, then you're back, then you'll start the search again, right? And in this market, that's what we're doing. We're having to sort of restart the search. We won't watch the video there, but you guys can find that in Connect on your MyKW. But it just talks, the highlights of the video is just about setting the expectation and making sure you're communicating to them what the market conditions are, and then funneling it down to their favorite, right? So the other thing that's really a great thing, if they're looking in an area that they're not familiar with, or maybe they're expanding their search criteria and you're not sure the area is a good fit, always recommend that they drive by first if there's time for them to do that, or if they're looking at broadening their area. Just take a drive and look at, you can even send them to look at the most recent couple sales just to give them something to drive by so they can see, okay, that went for X price, that went for X price. Do I like this neighborhood? Get a feel for it. That saves time, because if they drive through an area that they didn't originally have on their list and then decide after driving by they like it, great. They may decide they don't like it, and then you're not wasting your time and theirs by booking showings on houses. You can then rule that area out. What else can I tell you here? We're almost done, guys, so apologize. We're a little over time. Other than that, that's fine. If they, yeah, this is a good one. There's a script here that we want to sleep on it. That's a common one that comes up, especially for first-time home buyers. So this is the script, it's a good one. So if they want to sleep on it, you say, you're right, this is a huge decision. However, I have to give you fair warning that with as little pressure as possible, if you are ready to write an offer on this home, other buyers may also be ready to write. Being first to write will make a difference in negotiating the best possible price for you. Is there something specific holding you back? How can I assist you with your decision? And if they still want to wait, then you say, that sounds good. I will call the listing sales representative first thing in the morning and see if the home's still available. Then I'll call you. Do you have any questions on the property I can get answered for you? Do you have any other purchasing concerns I can assist you with? Okay, so that's a really good script for that. And that, again, that's one of the things that you'll come across with first-time home buyers. In this case, you can add to that the current market conditions. If that seller is taking preemptive offers, the home very much could be unavailable by the next morning if a preemptive offer comes in. If they're not accepting preemptive offers and everything has to be submitted 2 days later, then there isn't as much of an urgency there. If they want to sleep on it, there isn't as much of a risk that they're going to lose the house. So just keep that in mind. It's going to depend on the specifics of the property.
And we're seeing properties listed, Melissa, saying they're not taking preemptive offers, and then they do.
I know. Yeah, I know.
Sorry, guys, got a lot going on this morning. I have to go. I hope
That's
this is
okay.
recorded.
We're almost done. It was good to see you.
Yeah, but it's recorded, right? And I got to review it because I've been on the phone. Things are happening. See ya.
Bye. Yeah. So I think, yeah, we're pretty much done, guys. We're just rounding up the last exercise. This is just a mock showing of a home. We don't need to do that. I think we've covered enough of how to, actually go about showing the house, setting up your appointments, your tour, your feedback. The important thing is to make sure that you do give feedback to the listing agent. You don't have to give, it depends on what you're comfortable with as how specific you want to be. I typically don't recommend commenting on price. And with designated agency, we're really not supposed to comment on price. So I, you know, if you're looking at showing time, that's one of the standard boxes you can check. I just ignore that box. I give them the feedback on whether they're interested in the listing, how it showed, and then, you know, I'll always make sure I write an actual comment in the actual comment section to give them, try to give them constructive feedback. If it's something that they can change, it's better to tell them. Because on the flip side, if it was your seller or your listing, you'd appreciate the honest feedback as well. And sometimes sometimes your feedback is not going to be very specific because sometimes it's just not the right fit. And often that comes down to something, you know, that can't be changed, like the location, or it might be the layout, and that's something that, you know, can't really be changed. So if that's the case, you know, you can share that. It's up to you. Just be cautious that you don't provide too much information about your buyer. So you want to give helpful feedback, but you don't want to get into, you know, overcrossing that line of oversharing specific information about your buyer, I guess is what I would say there. So yeah, there's some, as I said, there's some great scripts in this section in your material and also in the toolkit as well. So take a look at that as well when you have a chance. And yeah, that's it for today. So their suggestion is to you know, continue to preview and visit homes, practice touring and identifying features and benefits. We've talked about that. Practice your buyer scripts and objection handlers. You guys could, Colin does a lot of that stuff as well. So you'll get that information from him, and he's got some great scripts and things. And I know that he's got some, you guys in groups too, that you can practice with each other, and that's a great thing to do. A script doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to feel like it's a script, right? You can take the script and, you know, if you like what it says, but you say, it doesn't really sound like me, then, you know, modify a couple words to make it sound like you, right? Because you want to be able to actually internalize the script so that it just comes, right? And then it becomes second nature to you, and it's what you say. It's how you feel, and that will come across in your communication with your clients. And then the mission, of course, for next class, and which is, of course, talking about your lead generation and adding contacts to your database. So that's it for today, guys. Any questions before we go?
No, that was wonderful, Melissa. Really, really appreciate that. The further along we get into Ignite, the more I feel like, okay, I could actually go have that conversation with a buyer, with a seller. I'm feeling more confident knowing that there's scripts. It's all coming together, which is really, really great. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. Yes,
I appreciate that. Thanks for taking your time from your busy day. I can only imagine. But thank you so very much. We appreciate your support.
So you guys, there's another session on Friday, and then I think you've got Sherry on Friday. So you'll have lots of chances to ask more broker questions if you need. And then you've got, I think I'm back on Monday, I think, for that session. So I will see you again very soon.
Thank you so much, Melissa.
You're welcome. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Melissa. You too.
Okay, bye.